Kang Ji-Hoon made his choice the day his ex-lover called. He left his fiancée sitting alone in their wedding venue and rushed to Yoon Seo-rin's side. The woman who had stood by him for 3 years, who had faced racism and public scrutiny to be with him, who had sacrificed everything for their love, suddenly wasn't his priority anymore. He sent a text message. Just a text. We need to postpone the wedding. Something urgent came up. He thought she would understand. He thought she would wait. He thought he could have both. But Nokuthula Dlamini wasn't the kind of woman who waited for men who chose someone else. So she left. Quietly, completely, forever. And when Seoul's most feared Mafia boss finally realized what he'd done, it was already too late. The wedding was supposed to happen in 2 weeks. Nokuthula Dlamini sat in the empty event hall, her phone clutched in her hand. The message glowed on the screen, cold and brief. We need to postpone the wedding. Something urgent came up. That was it. No call. No explanation. Just 10 words that shattered everything. The wedding planner hovered nearby, her eyes darting between Nokuthula and the door. Miss Dlamini, should we continue with the tasting menu or cancel it? Nokuthula said quietly. I'm sorry. Cancel everything. The flowers, the catering, the venue. All of it. The planner's mouth fell open. But the deposit, the contracts, this is just 2 weeks away. Surely Mr. Kang will. Nokuthula stood up, smoothing down her dress. Her hands were steady, even though her heart was breaking into a million pieces. I said cancel it. Send the bills to his office. I'll handle my own cancellations. She walked out of that hall with her head high, even though every eye in the room was on her. Her phone buzzed with notifications. The gossip sites had already picked up the story. Photos of Ji-Hoon entering a hotel with Yoon Seo-rin were spreading like wildfire. Seoul's most powerful man had ditched his wedding preparations for his ex-lover. And the whole city was watching Nokuthula's humiliation unfold in real time. She got into her car and sat there for a moment. Just one moment to let herself feel the pain. Then she wiped her eyes, started the engine, and drove away. This was not how their story was supposed to end. 3 years ago, everything had been different. Nokuthula had attended a charity gala, dragged along by a business associate who insisted she needed to network more. She remembered feeling out of place among Seoul's elite, all of them dripping in designer labels and fake smiles. She'd been standing by the refreshments table when a man approached her. Tall, sharp features, eyes that seemed to see right through people. Everyone around them had immediately stepped back, creating a bubble of space around him. You look bored, he'd said. Nokuthula had glanced at him, unimpressed. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's equally bored. He'd extended his hand. Kang Ji-Hoon. She'd shaken it. Nokuthula Dlamini. That's a beautiful name. What does it mean? Mother of Peace. She'd smiled slightly. Though my friends say I'm more like Mother of Chaos. He'd laughed. Actually laughed. People nearby had turned to stare because apparently, Kang Ji-Hoon didn't laugh often. You have no idea who I am, do you? He'd asked. Should I? That had been the beginning. He'd pursued her relentlessly after that night. Flowers at her office, dinner invitations, showing up at her business events. Nokuthula had resisted at first. She'd heard the rumors about him, about his family's connections to underground networks, about the way people feared him. But he'd been different with her. Gentle, funny, real, or so she'd thought. Now, driving through Seoul's streets, she realized she'd been a fool. She'd ignored the warnings from her friends, the disapproving looks from his family, the way Seo-rin's name kept coming up in conversations. Her phone rang. Ji-Hoon's mother. Nokuthula almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. So you've heard. Mrs. Kang's voice was cold as ice. The whole country has heard, Nokuthula replied. This is for the best. You were never suitable for this family anyway. A foreigner with no connections, no understanding of our world. Ji-Hoon needs someone who. Nokuthula ended the call. She was done listening to people tell her she wasn't enough. By the time she reached the penthouse she shared with Ji-Hoon, she'd made her decision. She called her assistant, her lawyer, and her best friend Thandai. I need your help, she said when Thandai answered. I'm leaving. About time, Thandai replied. I'm on my way. The next 72 hours were a blur. Nokuthula worked with military precision. She contacted the real estate agent and put their penthouse on the market. She withdrew her name from all their joint accounts. She packed only what was hers, left everything he'd bought her. The engagement ring, a massive diamond that had made headlines when he'd proposed, She placed in a box and called a courier service. "Deliver this to Kang Ji-Hoon's office," she instructed. No card. No message. Her event planning company was harder to leave. She'd built it from nothing, but it was too visible, too easy for him to find her through it. So she sold her shares to her business partner at a loss, with one condition. "Don't tell anyone where I'm going." "Where are you going?" her partner asked. "I don't know yet." She closed her social media accounts, changed her phone number, moved her money to a new bank. Within 3 days, Nokuthula Dlamini had erased herself from Kang Ji-Hoon's world. The media had a field day. Think pieces were written about the abandoned bride. Some blamed her for not fighting for her man. Others praised her for walking away. Most just wanted the drama. Nokuthula ignored all of it. On the 4th day, she moved into a small apartment in Yeonam-dong, a quiet neighborhood where nobody knew her face. She'd rented it under a company name, paid 6 months up front in cash. That night, sleeping in an empty apartment on a mattress on the floor, she finally let herself cry. But when morning came, she got up, washed her face, and started planning her next move. Meanwhile, across the city, Kang Ji-Hoon was standing in Seo-rin's hospital room, finally understanding he'd been played. "There's nothing wrong with you," he said slowly. Seo-rin had the grace to look embarrassed. "I panicked, okay? I heard about the wedding and I couldn't let you marry her, Ji-Hoon. We have history, he interrupted. "We had history." Past tense. He'd spent 3 days here, believing Seo-rin's story about a medical emergency, about needing him. The doctors had run every test. She was perfectly healthy. It had all been a lie. His phone had died on the 2nd day, and he'd been too distracted to charge it. Now, as he powered it on, messages flooded in. Missed calls from Nokuthula, then from the wedding planner, then from his assistant, then nothing from Nokuthula at all. He called her. The number was disconnected. A cold feeling settled in his chest. He left the hospital without another word to Seo-rin and drove home. Their penthouse was dark when he arrived. He pushed open the door, calling Nokuthula's name. Silence. He walked through the rooms. Her closet was empty. Her books were gone from the shelves. Her skincare products missing from the bathroom. The kitchen had none of her favorite tea. It was like she'd never existed. On the kitchen counter, he found a business card from a real estate agency with a note. Property listed for immediate sale. Please contact us to discuss. He tried calling her office. Her assistant answered, professional and cold. Miss Dlamini is no longer with the company. Where did she go? I'm not at liberty to say. This is Kang Ji-Hoon. I know who you are, sir. My answer remains the same. He called her friends. They either didn't answer or told him they had nothing to say to him. He called his own connections, people who could find anyone in Seoul. They came up empty. Nokuthula Dlamini had vanished. Hey, I know you're probably hooked on this story already, wondering what happens next. Does Ji-Hoon find her? Does Nokuthula ever forgive him? Trust me, this story takes turns you won't see coming. If you're enjoying this, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what you think Nokuthula should do. Should she give him a second chance or leave him in the dust? Let me know your thoughts. Ji-Hoon sat in the empty penthouse for hours. The reality of what he'd done was finally sinking in. He'd chosen Seo-rin's fake emergency over Nokuthula. He'd sent a text message instead of calling. He'd disappeared for 3 days without proper explanation. And Nokuthula had decided she was worth more than that. She was right. His phone rang. His mother. I heard your little African girlfriend ran away, she said. Good riddance. Now you can focus on. Did you know? Ji-Hoon's voice was quiet and dangerous. His mother paused. Know what? About Seo-rin. About her faking an emergency. The silence told him everything. It was for your own good, his mother finally said. That woman was unsuitable. Seo-rin is from a good family. She understands our world, Seo-rin is a liar, and you're a manipulator, Ji-Hoon said. And I just lost the only real thing in my life because I was too stupid to see it. He ended the call and threw his phone across the room. For the first time in his life, Kang Ji-Hoon, the man who could buy anything and intimidate anyone, was completely powerless. The woman he loved was gone, and he had no one to blame but himself. Days turned into weeks. Ji-Hoon hired private investigators. They found nothing. He personally visited every hotel, every neighborhood, called in every favor he had. Nokuthula had disappeared like smoke. His business suffered. He couldn't focus. His assistant started screening his calls because he'd snap at everyone. The media sensed blood in the water and circled closer, printing wild theories about where the jilted bride had gone. Some said she'd returned to South Africa. Others claimed she'd moved to another country entirely. A few insisted she was still in Seoul, laughing at him. Ji-Hoon didn't care about the media. He just wanted to find her, to explain, to apologize, to beg if he had to. But you can't apologize to someone who won't let you find them. 1 month after Nokuthula left, Ji-Hoon finally did what he should have done immediately. He went to confront Seo-rin. She was at a cafe in Gangnam, looking perfectly healthy and unbothered. When she saw him approach, she smiled. Ji-Hoon, I'm so glad you. Don't, he said, sitting down across from her. Just don't. Her smile faded. What's wrong? You lied about being sick. You manipulated me into leaving my fiancé right before our wedding. You destroyed my relationship. I saved you from a mistake, Seo-rin said. She was never right for you. Look at the media circus it created. Look at how people talked about you too. She didn't fit into your world. She was my world, Ji-Hoon said quietly. And I threw it away for a lie. Seo-rin reached for his hand. He pulled away. We can fix this, she said. We can be together again, like we used to be. Remember how good we were. We were never good. We were convenient. There's a difference. Ji-Hoon, I want you to stay away from me. Completely. If I hear that you've contacted me, my family, or especially if you go anywhere near Nokuthula, you'll regret it. He stood to leave. Seo-rin grabbed his arm. You think she's coming back? She laughed bitterly. She's gone, Ji-Hoon. She left you. Face it. She left because I gave her no choice, he said. And that's something I'll have to live with. He walked out of the cafe and into the cold Seoul evening. His driver was waiting, but Ji-Hoon waved him off. He needed to walk, to think, to figure out his next move. That's when he saw her. Just for a second, across the street. A woman with Nokuthula's posture, her walk, her hair. His heart stopped. He ran across the street, dodging traffic, ignoring the honking horns. But when he reached the other side, the woman was gone. He searched the crowd frantically, but there was no sign of her. Maybe it hadn't been her at all. Maybe he was losing his mind. He stood there on the sidewalk, breathing hard, while people flowed around him like water around a stone. Somewhere in this city, the woman he loved was living her life without him, and he had no idea how to find her. What Ji-Hoon didn't know was that Nokuthula had been there. She'd seen him too. She'd watched him run across the street, watched him search the crowd, and she'd turned and walked the other way. She was sitting in a small restaurant now, hands wrapped around a cup of tea, trying to stop shaking. Seeing him had brought everything back. The pain, the humiliation, the love she was trying so hard to bury. Are you okay? The restaurant owner asked. She was an elderly woman who'd become fond of Nokuthula over the past weeks. I just saw someone I used to know, Nokuthula said. Bad memories? The worst kind. The ones that used to be good. The owner patted her hand. Time heals, dear. Give it time. But Nokuthula wasn't sure time would be enough. Because despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain, part of her had wanted to run to him when she saw him on that street. And that scared her more than anything. She finished her tea, paid, and walked back to her small apartment. It was nothing like the penthouse she'd shared with Ji-Hoon. No view, no luxury, no space. But it was hers. And nobody could take it away from her. Her phone buzzed with an email. A potential client for her new, very quiet business venture. She was consulting for international companies now, helping them navigate Korean business culture. It was work she could do mostly online, work that kept her under the radar. She opened her laptop and started typing a response. This was her life now. Quiet, independent, safe. Boring, a voice in her head whispered. You're hiding. I'm healing, she said out loud to her empty apartment. But she wasn't sure she believed it. Across town, Ji-Hoon was having a very different evening. He'd called a meeting with his family, something he rarely did. His mother, father, and younger sister sat in the formal living room of the family estate, waiting. I've made a decision, Ji-Hoon announced. I'm stepping back from the family business. His father's face darkened. Excuse me. I'm keeping my legitimate companies, but I'm done with the rest. The underground connections, the gray area dealings, all of it. You can't just walk away, his mother said. You have responsibilities. I have regrets, Ji-Hoon corrected. And the biggest one is letting this family's expectations cost me the person I loved. His sister, Min-ji, spoke up quietly. Is this about Nokuthula? Everything is about Nokuthula, Ji-Hoon said. I lost her because I was too weak to stand up for what mattered. I'm not making that mistake again. She's gone, his mother said dismissively. Find someone else. There is no one else. There will never be anyone else. His father stood up, anger radiating from him. You're making a mistake. That woman made you weak. No, Ji-Hoon said. She made me better. And I was too blind to see it until it was too late. He left the family estate that night knowing he'd burned bridges. But some bridges deserved to burn. Now he just had to find Nokuthula and prove to her that he'd changed. If she'd even given the chance. 2 months had passed since the wedding that never was. Seoul had mostly moved on to other scandals, though Nokuthula and Ji-Hoon's story still occasionally popped up in gossip columns. Nokuthula had settled into her new life. She'd made a few friends in her neighborhood, people who knew her as the quiet businesswoman in apartment 203, nothing more. She'd started jogging in the mornings, something she'd given up when she was with Ji-Hoon because he'd worried about her safety. Now she ran freely through the streets, watching the city wake up. She was happy, or at least, she was convincing herself she was happy. Then fate decided to mess with her again. She received an email from a luxury hotel chain. They were hosting a major international event and needed a consultant who understood both Korean and international business culture. The pay was incredible. The project was exactly the kind of challenge she missed. There was just one problem. The event was being partially sponsored by Kang Corporation. Nokuthula stared at the email for a long time. She could turn it down, play it safe, stay hidden, or she could take the job and prove to herself that she'd truly moved on. She typed out her response before she could overthink it. I'm interested. Let's discuss the details. She hit send and immediately wanted to take it back. But it was done. What were the chances she'd actually run into Ji-Hoon anyway? Seoul was a big city. His company was just a sponsor. He probably wouldn't even attend. She was being paranoid. Everything would be fine. Across the city, Ji-Hoon's assistant knocked on his office door. Sir, the hotel event next month, they've hired a consultant for the international aspects. Fine, Ji-Hoon said without looking up from his paperwork. He'd been burying himself in work, the only thing that kept his mind off Nokuthula. The consultant's name is. The assistant checked her notes, listed under a company name, but I did some digging. I thought you'd want to know. Know what? It's Nokuthula Dlamini, sir. She's coming to your event. Ji-Hoon's head snapped up. After 2 months of searching, of dead ends and disappointment, fate had just dropped the answer in his lap. He was going to see her again. The question was, would she run the moment she realized he'd be there? Or would she stand her ground? He knew Nokuthula. She wasn't a coward. She'd stand her ground. Which meant he had exactly 3 weeks to figure out what to say to the woman whose heart he'd broken. No pressure. The 3 weeks passed too quickly and too slowly at the same time. Nokuthula threw herself into preparing for the event. She researched every detail, contacted international clients, made sure everything would be perfect. Work had always been her escape, and she needed the distraction. She told herself she was ready to see Ji-Hoon again. She'd practiced being cold, professional, indifferent. She had her armor on. But on the morning of the event, standing in front of her mirror in a sleek navy business dress, she felt her confidence wavering. You can do this, she told her reflection. He's just another client. Just another face in the crowd. Her reflection didn't look convinced. She arrived at the hotel 2 hours early. The event space was massive, elegant, perfect. Hotel staff rushed around, making final preparations. Nokuthula coordinated with the international guests, made sure the translators were in place, checked the seating arrangements. She was in full professional mode when she heard his voice. Move the Kang Corporation table closer to the stage. Her entire body went rigid. She knew that voice. It had whispered sweet things in her ear, promised her forever, broken her heart with a text message. She turned slowly. Kang Ji-Hoon stood 20 feet away, talking to the event coordinator. He was thinner than she remembered, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. He looked tired. Good, a petty part of her thought. Then his eyes found hers across the room. Time stopped. She watched emotions flicker across his face. Shock, relief, longing, regret, hope. All in the span of 2 seconds. She gave him nothing. Just looked at him like he was a stranger, then turned back to the hotel manager she'd been speaking with. As I was saying, the dietary restrictions for the German delegation need to be confirmed. Her voice didn't shake. She was proud of that. In her peripheral vision, she saw Ji-Hoon start walking toward her. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The hotel manager was still talking, but she couldn't hear him anymore. Nokuthula. His voice was soft, careful, like she was a wild animal that might bolt. She took a breath, put on her most professional smile, and turned to face him. Mr. Kang. Good morning. If you have concerns about the event setup, please direct them to the hotel coordinator. I'm handling the international client relations. She started to walk away. Nokuthula, please, I need to talk to you. She stopped but didn't turn around. I'm working, Mr. Kang. This is neither the time nor the place. Then when? Where? You changed your number, moved, disappeared. How am I supposed to? Now she did turn, and her eyes were ice. You're not supposed to do anything. We have nothing to discuss. We have everything to discuss. I made a mistake, I know that, You made a choice, she corrected. And I made mine. Now please excuse me, I have work to do. This time when she walked away, he didn't follow. But she could feel his eyes on her for the rest of the preparation time. The event started at 7. 200 guests filled the ballroom, a mix of Korean business elite and international partners. Nokuthula worked the room smoothly, introducing people, facilitating conversations, making sure everyone felt welcome. She was good at this. She'd always been good at this. Ji-Hoon watched her from across the room, and it hurt. She was radiant, confident, completely in her element. And she hadn't looked at him once since their brief exchange. You're staring, his assistant whispered. People are noticing. Let them notice, Ji-Hoon muttered. Sir, the investor from Singapore wants to speak with you. Later. Sir. I said later. He couldn't take his eyes off Nokuthula. She was laughing at something a British executive said, her whole face lighting up. He used to make her laugh like that. His chest ached. Ji-Hoon, there you are. He turned to find Seo-rin approaching, dressed in a red gown that screamed for attention. What are you doing here? He asked coldly. My company was invited. It's a business event, not a personal. She stopped talking as she followed his gaze and spotted Nokuthula. Oh, Seo-rin's voice turned sharp. So the little runaway came back. Leave, Ji-Hoon said. Now. I have every right to be here. And I have every right to have security remove you. Your choice. Seo-rin's face flushed with anger, but she knew he meant it. She turned and stalked away. But the damage was done. Nokuthula had seen the exchange. For just a moment, her professional mask slipped, and he saw pain flicker across her face. Then it was gone, and she was smiling at another guest, acting like nothing had happened. The evening dragged on. Ji-Hoon gave his required speech, shook the necessary hands, played the part of the successful CEO. But his mind was entirely on Nokuthula. She was avoiding him expertly. Every time he moved toward her, she somehow ended up on the other side of the room. It would have been impressive if it wasn't so frustrating. Finally, near the end of the night, he saw her step out onto the balcony alone. She looked exhausted, her professional smile finally dropping. This was his chance. He followed her outside. The Seoul night was cool, the city lights spread out below them like fallen stars. You should enjoy the view while you can, he said quietly. This hotel has the best one in the city. Nokuthula didn't turn around. I've seen better. Have you? Where? Anywhere you're not. The words hit like a physical blow. He deserved them, but they still hurt. I know you don't want to talk to me, he started. Then respect that and leave. I can't. He moved closer, but kept distance between them. I've spent 2 months searching for you. Do you have any idea what that was like? Do you have any idea what it was like to sit in a wedding venue, alone, while the man I loved chose someone else? She finally turned to face him, and her eyes were blazing. Do you have any idea what it was like to see my humiliation spread across every news site, every social media platform? To have strangers discuss my worth, my appearance, whether I was ever good enough for you? Nokuthula. I waited for you, Ji-Hoon. For 3 hours I sat there, making excuses to the wedding planner, ignoring the pitying looks from the staff. And you sent me a text message. Not even a phone call. A text message. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, and it destroyed him. I know, he said quietly. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't give me back the life I had before you demolished it. What life? I'll fix it, whatever it takes. You can't fix it because I don't want that life anymore, Nokuthula said. I don't want the penthouse, the media attention, the fake friends, the family that hated me. I don't want any of it. What do you want? Peace, she said simply. I want peace. And you're the opposite of that. She moved toward the door. He stepped in front of her, not touching, just blocking her path. Move, Ji-Hoon. Not until you hear me out. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. You're asking for more than you gave me. I got a 10-word text message ending our relationship. You want 5 minutes? That's generous compared to what I received. You're right. You're absolutely right. But please, Nokuthula. 5 minutes. She checked her watch. Your time starts now. He hadn't actually prepared what to say. He'd imagined this moment 1,000 times, but now that it was here, all his planned speeches vanished. Seo-rin lied, he started. There was no emergency. She faked the whole thing because she knew about the wedding. My mother helped her. I know. That stopped him. You know? I figured it out about 3 days after I left. I'm not stupid, Ji-Hoon. I know manipulation when I see it. Then you understand? I didn't choose her over you. I was tricked, manipulated, fooled. Nokuthula's laugh was bitter. That's somehow worse. You knew me for 3 years. We were engaged. We were supposed to get married in 2 weeks. And one call from her was enough to make you abandon everything. What does that say about us? It says I was an idiot. It says I took you for granted because I thought you'd always be there. Well, I'm not there anymore. I can see that, he said quietly. You built a whole new life without me. I had to. You destroyed the old one. Tell me about it, he said suddenly. Your new life. Are you happy? She studied him for a moment. Why do you care? Because even if you never forgive me, even if you never speak to me again after tonight, I need to know you're okay. That you're happy. That I didn't break you. You didn't break me, Nokuthula said. You broke my heart. There's a difference. I'm still here, still standing, still building my life. So yes, I'm okay. And eventually, I'll be happy. Eventually, healing takes time. He wanted to reach for her so badly his hands ached. I cut Seo-rin out of my life completely. I confronted my family. I'm stepping back from the family business, the parts you hated. I'm trying to become someone worthy of you. You should become someone worthy of yourself, Nokuthula said. Don't change for me. I'm not coming back. Never. Never. The finality in her voice was like a door slamming shut. I don't believe that, he said. You still love me. I can see it. Her face went cold. You see what you want to see. Your 5 minutes are up. She moved past him, and this time he let her go. But as she reached the door, he spoke again. I found out what you sacrificed for me. She froze. The business opportunity in London. You turned it down because I asked you to stay in Seoul. You never told me how big it was. How much you gave up. It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. I also found out about the threats you received. The racist messages, the hate mail. You never said a word. Because you couldn't fix it, Nokuthula said, still not turning around. What would have been the point? You would have felt guilty or tried to fight battles I needed to fight myself. I should have protected you. I didn't need protection. I needed a partner who chose me first every single time. That's all I ever needed. She walked inside, leaving him alone on the balcony. Ji-Hoon stood there for a long time, the cool night air doing nothing to ease the burning in his chest. He'd gotten his 5 minutes, and all it had done was confirm what he already knew. He'd lost her, and she wasn't coming back. Inside, Nokuthula made it to the bathroom before her hands started shaking. She locked herself in a stall and focused on breathing. Seeing him hurt more than she'd expected. Talking to him had ripped open wounds she'd thought were healing. And the worst part? Part of her had wanted to forgive him. When he'd looked at her with those regretful eyes, when he'd apologized, part of her had wanted to fall into his arms and pretend the last 2 months hadn't happened. But she couldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. She'd worked too hard to rebuild herself. Her phone buzzed. A text from Thandive. How's the event? You surviving? Nokuthula smiled despite everything. Barely. He's here. Want me to come beat him up? I've been practicing my right hook. Tempting, but no. I handled it. That's my girl. Call me when you're home. And remember, you're a queen. He's the fool who lost his throne. Nokuthula washed her hands, fixed her makeup, and returned to the event. Only an hour left. She could do this. The rest of the night passed in a blur. She avoided Ji-Hoon, finished her duties, and finally, blessedly, the event ended. She was packing up her materials when the hotel manager approached. Miss Dlamini, that was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. We'd like to hire you for 3 more events this quarter. It was a good offer. Great money, prestigious clients. But it meant staying visible. It meant risking more encounters with Ji-Hoon. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. Take your time. She left through the back entrance, avoiding the main lobby where guests were still lingering. Her car was in the parking garage, and she was almost there when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, expecting Ji-Hoon. It was Seo-rin. We need to talk, the other woman said. No, we really don't. I want you to know that Ji-Hoon and I don't care, Nokuthula interrupted. Whatever you and Ji-Hoon are or aren't doing is none of my business. We're done. Finished. You won. Congratulations. Seo-rin blinked. I won. Isn't that what you wanted? You got him to abandon our wedding. You broke us up. Victory is yours. But he won't speak to me now. He's obsessed with finding you, getting you back. That's not winning. Nokuthula unlocked her car. That sounds like a you problem. Good night. Wait, Seo-rin grabbed her arm. Nokuthula looked down at the hand on her arm, then up at Seo-rin's face with such cold fury that the woman immediately let go. Don't ever touch me again, Nokuthula said quietly. I just want you to understand, Ji-Hoon and I have history. We understand each other. You were just a phase, something different, exotic. But he'll come back to what he knows eventually. Then you have nothing to worry about, do you? Nokuthula got into her car. Because I'm not taking him back. He's all yours. She drove away, leaving Seo-rin standing in the parking garage. But as she drove through Seoul's late-night streets, Seo-rin's words echoed in her head. Exotic. Like she was some interesting experiment, not a real relationship. Had Ji-Hoon ever really loved her? Or had she just been something different, something novel for Seoul's most powerful man? No. She couldn't let Seo-rin's poison infect her memories. What she and Ji-Hoon had shared was real. She knew that. The betrayal was real too, though. And that mattered more. She got home, kicked off her heels, and collapsed on her couch. Her phone rang immediately. Thandive. Tell me everything. So Nokuthula did. She recounted the whole night, from seeing Ji-Hoon to their conversation on the balcony to the parking garage encounter with Seo-rin. That woman is a snake, Thandive said when she finished. And Ji-Hoon is a fool. But Noku, can I ask you something? Always. Do you still love him? Nokuthula was quiet for a long moment. Yes. And I hate that I do. That's normal. You don't turn off 3 years of love in 2 months. I want to though. I want to hate him. It would be so much easier. Love isn't easy. That's why it matters. Very philosophical for 11 at night. I try, Thandive laughed. But seriously, what are you going to do? He's clearly not giving up. He'll have to. I meant what I said. I'm not going back to that life. What if he's really changed? People don't change that fast, Thandi. It's been 2 months. True. But maybe the situation changed him. Losing you. Why are you defending him? I'm not defending him. I'm defending your right to all your feelings. You can love him and not take him back. You can miss what you had and still choose to move forward. Both things can be true. When did you become so wise? I've always been wise. You're just usually too stubborn to listen. Nokuthula laughed despite everything. Thank you. For always being there. Always, sister. Now get some sleep. And block his number if he tries to contact you. They said good night, and Nokuthula got ready for bed. But sleep didn't come easily. She kept replaying the conversation on the balcony, the look in Ji-Hoon's eyes, the way her heart had jumped when she first saw him. This wasn't over. She knew him too well. He wasn't going to give up easily, which meant she needed to be strong. Stronger than her still healing heart wanted to be. Across the city, Ji-Hoon was having an equally sleepless night. He sat in his apartment, the one he'd moved to after selling the penthouse he'd shared with Nokuthula. He couldn't live there with her ghost in every room. His assistant had compiled a file on Nokuthula's new life. Where she lived, what she was doing for work, who her new friends were. He'd told his assistant to destroy it. If Nokuthula wanted privacy, he'd give it to her. He wouldn't stalk her or force his presence on her. But he also wasn't giving up. Tonight had shown him she was still hurt, still angry. Good. Anger meant she still felt something. Anger was better than indifference. Except she'd looked pretty indifferent when she'd driven away. His phone rang. Minji, his sister. I heard she was at your event tonight, Minji said without preamble. Word travels fast. You looked miserable. People are talking. Let them talk. Did you speak to her? Briefly. She hates me. Can you blame her? No, Ji-Hoon said. I can't blame her at all. Are you going to keep chasing her? What else can I do? Move on? Find someone else? Actually respect her wishes? I can't, Minji. I love her. His sister was quiet for a moment. You know what Mom is saying, right? That this is all beneath you, that you're embarrassing the family. Mom orchestrated the whole thing. She doesn't get an opinion anymore. I'm proud of you for standing up to her. I just worry you're going to get hurt. I'm already hurt. The only question is whether I can fix what I broke. Some things can't be fixed, Appa. Sometimes you just have to let go. After they hung up, Ji-Hoon sat in the darkness of his apartment, thinking about his sister's words. Let go. He'd never been good at letting go of things he wanted. It's how he'd built his empire, won his battles, survived in a world that ate the weak. But Nokuthula wasn't a business deal. She wasn't something to be won or conquered. She was a person who deserved respect, dignity, and the right to choose her own path. Even if that path led away from him. He made a decision then. He'd give her space. No more searching, no more showing up unannounced. If she wanted to be left alone, he'd leave her alone. But he wouldn't stop hoping. And if she ever gave him the smallest sign that she might consider forgiving him, he'd be there. Until then, he'd work on becoming the man she deserved. Even if she never saw it. The next morning, Nokuthula woke up to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Her heart jumped, thinking it was Ji-Hoon. It wasn't. The hotel event had been photographed extensively. Pictures of her and Ji-Hoon in the same frame had hit the internet. The media was having a field day. Estranged lovers reunite at luxury event. Did Nokuthula Dlamini return for Kang Ji-Hoon? Second chance romance for Seoul's most talked about couple? She threw her phone across the room. This was exactly what she'd been trying to avoid. She'd worked so hard to disappear, to build a quiet life, and one event had destroyed all of that. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Miss Dlamini? This is reporter Kim from Seoul Daily. I'd love to get your comment on the reunion with Kang Ji-Hoon. She hung up immediately and blocked the number. Another call. Another reporter. Then another. By noon, she'd blocked 15 numbers and stopped answering entirely. This was a nightmare. Her carefully constructed piece was crumbling. She called the hotel manager. I need to decline your offer for future events. Oh no. Is this because of the media attention? I'm so sorry. We didn't anticipate. It's fine. It's not your fault. I just can't do this. She spent this was Ji-Hoon's world. The attention, the scrutiny, the invasion of privacy. She'd forgotten how much she hated it. Her doorbell rang. She ignored it. It rang again. And again. Go away, she shouted. Noku. It's me. Thandai's voice came through the door. Let me in. Nokuthula opened the door to find her best friend carrying takeout and wine. Emergency intervention, Thandai announced. I saw the news. We're going to eat our feelings and make a plan. I don't want to make a plan. I want to disappear. Already tried that. Didn't work. New plan needed. They ate fried chicken and drank wine while Nokuthula ranted about the media, about Ji-Hoon, about how unfair it all was. You know what the worst part is? She said. Part of me is glad the photos exist. Part of me wants him to suffer too, wants him to see what he lost. How messed up is that? Very human, Thandai said. You're allowed to be petty. You're also allowed to change your mind about anything and everything. I'm not changing my mind about him. Okay. I mean it. I believe you. You don't sound like you believe me. Thandai smiled. I believe you believe it. But Noku, that man looked at you tonight like you were the only person in the room. And you looked at him like your heart was breaking all over again. So maybe you're not going back to him right now, or maybe ever, but don't lie to yourself about how you feel. I feel angry. And hurt. And Nokuthula threw a pillow at her. Stop it. And you still love him, Thandai finished. All of those things can be true at once. Hey, things are getting complicated, right? Nokuthula's trying to move on, but Ji-Hoon isn't making it easy. And now the media is back in her business. What would you do in her situation? Would you give him another chance or keep your distance? Drop a comment and let me know. And if you're loving this drama, share this video with someone who needs a good story today. The media attention didn't die down. If anything, it got worse. Nokuthula's face was everywhere again, and she hated it. She stopped going to her regular coffee shop because reporters started camping out there. She had groceries delivered instead of shopping herself. She became a prisoner in her own apartment. On day 5 of the media siege, she received a package. Inside was a handwritten note and a set of keys. The note read, I own a property in Bukshin. It's private, quiet, and empty. Use it as long as you need. No strings attached. I'm sorry the attention found you again. You deserve peace. The code is your birthday. Ji-Hoon. Nokuthula stared at the note for a long time. This was typical Ji-Hoon. Trying to fix things with money and resources. Trying to be the hero. She should throw the keys away. Refuse the offer. Stand on her own. But she was tired. So tired of fighting, of hiding, of running. She packed a bag and drove to the address on the key tag. The house was in a traditional Hanok village, secluded and beautiful. She punched in the code, her birthday, and the gate opened. Inside was a small but perfect traditional Korean house, modernized but respectful of its history. It was quiet, private, peaceful. She walked through the rooms, half expecting Ji-Hoon to appear. He didn't. She found another note in the kitchen. This place has no cameras, no staff, and I won't come here. It's yours for as long as you need it. I just want you to have peace. That's all I want for you now. Nokuthula sat down at the kitchen table and finally let herself cry. Not because she was taking him back. Not because she forgave him. But because even after everything, he still knew her well enough to know what she needed. And that made everything so much harder. Nokuthula stayed in the Hanok house for 2 weeks. It was everything Ji-Hoon's note had promised. Quiet, private, peaceful. The media couldn't find her there. She could breathe again. But living in a house Ji-Hoon owned felt like accepting something from him. And she didn't want to owe him anything. On the 15th day, she started looking for her own place. Something she could afford without dipping into her savings too much. Something that was completely, entirely hers. She found a small apartment in Seoul, an up-and-coming neighborhood full of artists and small businesses. It wasn't fancy, but it had good light and a view of the Han River. She signed the lease and started packing up her things from the Hanok. That's when she found the box. It was in the bedroom closet, hidden behind spare blankets. A simple wooden box with her name carved into the lid. She shouldn't open it. She knew she shouldn't. She opened it anyway. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All in Ji-Hoon's handwriting. All addressed to her. None of them sent. Her hands shook as she picked up the first one. Dear Nokuthula, it's been 1 week since you left. I've looked everywhere. I can't find you. I'm starting to understand that maybe you don't want to be found. I don't blame you. I keep replaying that day, wondering what I was thinking. The truth is I wasn't thinking at all. Seoul called, and some old instinct kicked in, some stupid sense of obligation. By the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. You were gone. And I deserve that. I deserve to lose you. But it doesn't make it hurt any less. Nokuthula's vision blurred. She wiped her eyes and picked up another letter. Week 3. I confronted my mother today. I told her she'd cost me the only person who ever loved me for myself, not for what I could do for her. She didn't even look sorry. She said you were a distraction, that I'm better off without you. She's wrong. I was better with you. I was kinder, softer, more human. You made me want to be better. And I threw that away for a lie. Another letter. Month 2. I saw someone today who looked like you. Just for a second, across the street. I ran after her like a crazy person. It wasn't you, of course. The woman looked terrified when I caught up to her. I apologized and walked away. My assistant thinks I'm losing my mind. Maybe I am. Maybe this is what I deserve, to slowly go crazy missing someone I'll never see again. There were more. So many more. Letters about his regret, his guilt, his love. Letters about the little things he missed. Her laugh, the way she hummed while cooking, how she'd argue with him about everything and make him see different perspectives. Letters about changing his life, cutting toxic people out, trying to become someone worthy of a second chance he knew he'd never get. The last letter was dated 3 days ago. Dear Nokuthula, I found out you're staying at the Hanok. I won't come there, I promise. I just needed you to have a safe place away from the circus my world created around you again. I'm sorry for that too. I'm sorry for everything. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to read these letters, if you even find them. I just needed to say it all, even if you never hear it. I love you. I will always love you. And I will spend the rest of my life regretting that I wasn't brave enough to choose you when it mattered. I hope you find happiness, real happiness, with someone who deserves you. Someone who will choose you first, always. You deserve that. You deserve everything. Nokuthula sat on the floor surrounded by letters and cried. Not pretty, quiet tears. Big, ugly, sobbing tears that came from somewhere deep in her chest. She cried for what they'd had. She cried for what they'd lost. She cried because part of her wanted to forgive him and part of her knew she couldn't. She cried because love was supposed to be simple, and this was anything but. When the tears finally stopped, she carefully put all the letters back in the box. She didn't know what to do with them. Throwing them away felt wrong. Keeping them felt dangerous. In the end, she packed them with her things. She left the keys to the hammock on the kitchen counter with a simple note. Thank you for the refuge. I'm moving on now. Take care of yourself. She didn't sign it. She didn't need to. Moving into her new apartment helped. It was a fresh start, a space with no memories of Ji-Hoon. Thandive helped her unpack and decorate. This is cute, Thandive said, looking around. Very you. It's mine, Nokuthula said. That's all that matters. Did you leave the hammock? This morning. How do you feel? Lighter? Sadder? I don't know. Both. Thandive gave her a long look. You found something there, didn't you? Why do you say that? Because you have that look. Like something shifted. Nokuthula didn't mention the letters. They felt too private, too raw to share yet. I'm fine, she said. Let's just focus on making this place feel like home. They spent the rest of the day arranging furniture and hanging art. By evening, the apartment looked lived in and loved. Nokuthula was exhausted but content. This was her life now. Small, quiet, independent. It was enough. It had to be enough. 2 days later, Seoul exploded with news. Kang Ji-Hoon had called a press conference. Nokuthula saw it on the news while eating breakfast. She almost changed the channel, but something made her watch. Ji-Hoon stood at a podium, facing dozens of reporters and cameras. He looked nervous, which was strange. She'd never seen him nervous before. Thank you all for coming, he started. I'm not here to discuss business or announce a new venture. I'm here to address something personal. The reporters leaned forward, sensing a story. 3 months ago, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I was engaged to an incredible woman, Nokuthula Dlamini. Our wedding was 2 weeks away, and I abandoned her for what I thought was an emergency involving someone from my past. Cameras flashed. Reporters started shouting questions. Ji-Hoon held up a hand. Please, let me finish. The emergency was fabricated. I was manipulated by people I should have cut out of my life years ago. But that's not an excuse. I made a choice that day. I chose wrong. I chose cowardice over courage. I chose the past over the future. And I lost the best thing that ever happened to me. Nokuthula's breakfast went cold. She couldn't look away from the screen. Nokuthula, if you're watching this, I want you to know I'm not doing this to win you back. I know I don't deserve that chance. I'm doing this because you deserved a public apology for the public humiliation I caused. You deserved better than a text message. You deserved better than me. His voice cracked slightly. You were right to leave. You were right to choose yourself. I spent 3 years with you and somehow never fully appreciated what I had. You were kind when my world is cruel. You were genuine when everything around me is fake. You loved me for who I was, not what I could give you. And I threw that away. He paused, collecting himself. I've made changes in my life. I've cut ties with toxic people, including family members who orchestrated our separation. I've stepped back from parts of my business that compromise my values. But I'm not doing this to prove anything to you. I'm doing it because you made me want to be better, and even though you're gone, that desire remains. A reporter shouted, Are you hoping for a reconciliation? Ji-Hoon smiled sadly. I'm hoping she finds happiness. Whether that includes me or not isn't my decision to make. I just wanted her to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. And that she was loved. Is loved. Will always be loved. He left the podium without taking questions. The news anchors immediately started discussing the shocking press conference, but Nokuthula had stopped listening. Her phone exploded with messages. Thandive, are you watching this? Her former business partner. Turn on the news right now. Even her mother in South Africa. This boy is on television talking about you. Nokuthula turned off her phone and sat in silence. What was Ji-Hoon doing? A public apology didn't fix anything. It didn't erase the pain or rebuild the trust. But it was something she'd needed without knowing it. An acknowledgement. A validation that she wasn't crazy, that she hadn't deserved what happened. She spent the rest of the day thinking. Really thinking about what she wanted. Did she want to stay angry forever? Did she want to carry this hurt for the rest of her life? Did she want to never see Ji-Hoon again? That last question was harder to answer than it should have been. A week passed. The media frenzy around Ji-Hoon's press conference died down. Nokuthula threw herself into work, taking on new consulting projects, rebuilding her professional reputation. She was at a coffee shop in her new neighborhood, reviewing a proposal, when someone sat down across from her. She looked up, expecting Thandive. It was Ji-Hoon's sister, Min-ji. Before you run, Min-ji said quickly, I'm not here on behalf of my brother. He doesn't even know I'm here. Nokuthula closed her laptop slowly. Then why are you here? Because I owe you an apology too. I knew what my mother was planning with Seo-rin. I didn't participate, but I didn't warn you either. I was a coward, and you paid the price. Why are you telling me this now? Because my brother is destroying himself over you. And while part of me thinks he deserves it, another part of me sees how much he's changed. He meant what he said at that press conference. He's different now. People don't change in 3 months. They do when they lose everything that matters, Min-ji said. Look, I'm not asking you to take him back. I'm not even asking you to forgive him. I just thought you should know that his regret is real. His love is real. What you do with that information is entirely up to you. She stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I liked you. I thought you were good for him. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder to protect what you two had. She left before Nokuthula could respond. Nokuthula sat there for a long time, her coffee going cold, her proposal forgotten. Everyone seemed determined to make her rethink her decision. The letters, the press conference, now Min-ji's visit. But forgiveness wasn't something you could be talked into. It had to come from somewhere deeper. She thought about the letters. About Ji-Hoon's words at the press conference. About the Hanok he'd offered without asking for anything in return. She thought about 3 years of memories. The good ones, before everything fell apart. She thought about who she'd been with him, and who she was now without him. Both versions had value. Both versions were real. The question was, could those versions coexist? Could she be strong and independent, and still let someone back into her heart? Could she forgive without forgetting? Love without losing herself? She didn't have answers yet. But for the first time since she'd left, she was willing to ask the questions. That evening, she did something impulsive. She went to the charity gala venue where she'd first met Ji-Hoon 5 years ago. They were hosting another event, and she slipped in with the crowd. The ballroom looked the same. Elegant, expensive, full of people pretending to care about causes while really networking for business. She found the refreshments table where they'd first talked. Stood in almost the exact same spot. Looking for someone? She turned. Ji-Hoon stood there, looking as shocked as she felt. What are you doing here? She asked. Supporting the charity. Same as always. What are you doing here? I don't know, she admitted. Nostalgia, maybe. Stupidity, probably. They stood in awkward silence for a moment. Around them, people were starting to notice, to whisper. Want to get out of here? Ji-Hoon asked quietly. Go somewhere we can actually talk? Nokuthula knew she should say no. This was dangerous territory. Okay, she heard herself say. They left through a side exit and walked to a nearby park. It was late autumn, the air crisp and cool. They found a bench overlooking a small pond. I saw your press conference, Nokuthula said. I wasn't sure if you would. It was hard to miss. You made international news. I meant what I said. All of it. I know, she said quietly. I also found your letters. His head snapped toward her. You read them? Every single one. Nokuthula, Let me talk, she interrupted. For 3 months, I've been trying to hate you. Trying to erase you from my life and my heart. And I can't do it. I've tried, and I can't. Hope flickered across his face. But that doesn't mean I'm ready to forgive you either, she continued. What you did broke something in me. And I've been working really hard to fix it. I'm not sure I want to risk breaking again. I understand. Do you? Because you've been doing everything in your power to get my attention. The Hanok, the press conference, the letters. It feels like you're not respecting my need for space. You're right, Ji-Hoon said. I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'll leave you alone completely if that's what you need. Is it what you want? What I want is irrelevant. This isn't about me. Nokuthula studied his face in the lamplight. He looked older, tired, but also somehow more genuine than she remembered. I loved you, she said. I loved you so much it scared me sometimes. And when you chose her, even for a moment, it confirmed my deepest fear. What fear? That I wasn't enough. That I'd never be enough for your world, your family, your life. You were always enough, Ji-Hoon said fiercely. More than enough. My world didn't deserve you. My family didn't deserve you. I didn't deserve you. Maybe that's the problem. Love shouldn't be about deserving. It should just be. They sat in silence, watching the moonlight reflect on the pond. I don't know what happens next, Nokuthula finally said. I'm not ready to jump back into anything. I'm not even sure I can trust you again. What if we start over? Ji-Hoon suggested carefully. Not picking up where we left off, but actually starting fresh. No history, no expectations. Just two people getting to know each other. That's impossible. We have too much history. Then what do you want? Nokuthula thought about it. What did she want? Honesty, she said. If we're going to try anything, even friendship, I need complete honesty. No games, no manipulation, no choosing other people over me. Done. I'm not finished. I also need time. Real time, not just a few weeks. I need to see that the changes you made are real and lasting, not just grand gestures to win me back. How much time? I don't know. Maybe months. Maybe longer. Can you handle that? I've already waited 3 months. I can wait as long as you need. And no pressure. The moment you start pushing for more than I'm ready to give, I'm gone. For good this time. Understood. Nokuthula took a deep breath. Okay, we can try being friends. Just friends. Maybe get coffee sometimes, talk about safe topics. See if trust can be rebuilt. Thank you, Ji-Hoon said, and his voice was full of genuine gratitude. Thank you for even considering it. Don't thank me yet. I might change my mind tomorrow. Then I'll be grateful for tonight. They sat on that bench for another hour, talking carefully about neutral topics. Her new apartment, his recent business deals, the weather, safe things that didn't touch the raw wounds still healing between them. When it got too cold to stay outside, Ji-Hoon walked her to her car. Can I ask you something? He said as she unlocked the door. Maybe. Are you happy? In your new life, are you happy? Nokuthula considered the question honestly. I'm getting there. Some days are better than others. But I'm building something that's mine, and that feels good. Good. That's all I want for you. She got in her car and drove away, watching him get smaller in her rearview mirror. This wasn't a fairy tale ending. There was no kiss, no dramatic declaration of love, no certainty about the future. But it was a beginning. A small, careful beginning. And sometimes, that was enough. Over the next 2 months, Nokuthula and Ji-Hoon fell into a careful routine. Coffee once a week, always in public places. Conversations that slowly deepened as trust began to rebuild. He told her about cutting ties with his mother, about the family business he'd walked away from. She told him about her new projects, her dreams for the future. They didn't talk about their past relationship much. It was too painful, too complicated. But slowly, friendship formed. Real friendship, based on honesty and respect rather than passion and promises. Thandai remained skeptical. You're playing with fire, she warned over dinner one night. Maybe, Nokuthula agreed. But it's my fire to play with. Are you falling for him again? I don't think I ever stopped loving him. I just stopped trusting him. The love never went away. I just buried it under hurt and anger. And now I'm seeing if trust can grow back. I don't know if it can, but I'm willing to find out. Just be careful. Your heart has already been broken once by this man. I know, but staying completely closed off forever isn't living either. It's just existing. Meanwhile, Ji-Hoon was having similar conversations with Min-ji. You seem happier, his sister observed. She's letting me back in. Slowly, carefully, but she's letting me in. Are you going to ask her to get back together? Not until she's ready. Maybe never, if she's never ready. I'll take whatever she's willing to give. That's very mature of you. I grew up. Losing her forced me to grow up. Good. You needed it. 4 months after the press conference, Nokuthula and Ji-Hoon were having coffee at their usual spot when he said something that changed everything. I got offered a business opportunity in Singapore. Her heart sank. Oh, major partnership, incredible opportunity. It would mean relocating for at least a year. That's great, she said, trying to sound enthusiastic. You should take it. I turned it down. Why? Because everything I want is here, he said, looking directly at her. Nokuthula set down her cup. Ji-Hoon, don't make life decisions based on me. We're not even together. I'm not making it based on you. I'm making it based on what I want my life to look like. And I don't want to be the person who runs away to Singapore for business. I want to be the person who builds a life in Seoul, who stays close to the people who matter. What if we never get back together? Then I'll have built a good life anyway. You taught me that success isn't just about money and power. It's about being someone you're proud to be. Nokuthula felt tears prick her eyes. You can't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Because it makes it really hard to keep my walls up. Maybe you don't need walls anymore, Ji-Hoon said softly. Maybe you've healed enough to try something new. Or maybe I haven't, and you'll just hurt me again. I can't promise I'll never hurt you. People hurt each other sometimes, even when they love each other. But I can promise I'll never choose someone else over you again. I can promise I'll communicate instead of disappearing. I can promise I'll fight for us when things get hard instead of running away. Those are big promises. I've had a lot of time to think about what went wrong. I know what mistakes not to repeat. Nokuthula sat back, her mind racing. Was she ready for this? Could she really risk her heart again? I need time to think, she said finally. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. She spent the next week in agony, weighing options, making lists of pros and cons, talking to Thandive until her friend was sick of the topic. Okay, stop, Thandive finally said. You're overthinking this. What does your gut say? My gut says I'm terrified. Okay, and what short in love is rare, and maybe I should stop being so scared. Then there's your answer. But what if? There's always a what if. That's life. You can't control everything, Noku. Sometimes you just have to jump and trust that you'll land safely. So Nokuthula jumped. She called Ji-Hoon and asked him to meet her at the park where they'd had their honest conversation months ago. He arrived looking nervous. Is everything okay? I've been thinking about what you said. About trying something new. And I'm scared. I'm really scared of getting hurt again. His face fell. I understand. But, she continued, I'm more scared of spending the rest of my life wondering what if. What if I'd been brave enough to try again? What if I'd given second chances the way I'd want to receive them? Hope returned to his eyes. What are you saying? I'm saying let's try. Not jumping back into an engagement, not rushing anything. But let's try dating, really dating, and see if we can build something stronger than what we had before. You mean it? I mean it. But Ji-Hoon, I need you to understand. This is a second chance, but it's also the last chance. If you mess this up, there's no third try. I won't mess it up. I swear to you, I won't. Don't make promises you might not be able to keep. Just promise to try your best. That's all I can ask. I promise to try my best every single day, he said seriously. To choose you, to communicate with you, to build a partnership instead of a fairy tale. Nokuthula smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. Then let's see where this goes. He moved closer, hesitant. Can I hug you? Yes. He wrapped his arms around her carefully, like she might break. She held him back, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling the rightness of being in his arms again. It wasn't perfect. There were still hurts to heal, trust to rebuild, conversations to have. But it was a start. And sometimes, a start is all you need. 6 months later, Nokuthula and Ji-Hoon were at another charity gala. The same venue where they'd first met, where they'd reconnected months ago. But this time, they arrived together. The media noticed, of course. But the frenzy was more controlled now. Ji-Hoon had set firm boundaries about his personal life, and Nokuthula had learned to ignore the noise. Are you happy? He asked her as they stood by the refreshments table, exactly where they'd met 5 years ago. Yes, she said simply. Are you happier than I deserve to be? Stop that. You deserve good things too. Only because you gave me a second chance. We gave each other a second chance, she corrected. I'm not perfect either. I could have communicated better before, trusted more, been less afraid. We both made mistakes. And we both learned from them. That's what matters. He took her hand, and she let him. In public, in front of everyone, she let him hold her hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. They weren't engaged again. They might never be. They were taking things slowly, carefully, building a foundation strong enough to last. Some people thought Nokuthula was a fool for taking him back. Others admired her capacity for forgiveness. She didn't care what people thought anymore. She knew her worth. She knew her strength. And she knew that choosing to love again after being hurt wasn't weakness. It was the bravest thing she'd ever done. As they danced later that evening, Ji-Hoon whispered in her ear, "Thank you for not giving up on us. Thank you for becoming someone worth coming back to," she whispered back. It wasn't a perfect ending. Real life never is. But it was their ending, and it was real, and it was enough. Nokuthula Dlamini, mother of peace, had found her peace again. Not in perfection, not in fairy tales, but in the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of second chances and hard-earned love. And that was the best ending of all. So what do you think? Did Nokuthula make the right choice? Would you have done the same, or walked away forever? Love isn't always black and white, and sometimes the bravest thing is giving someone a second chance. But it has to be earned, right? If this story touched your heart, Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more stories like this. Drop a comment telling me your thoughts on second chances in relationships. Have you ever given one? Did it work out? And share this video with someone who loves a good romance story with real emotions and real stakes. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.